Mark Zuckerberg reversing his stance. Previously, he had defended the decision to not censor or put any warning on President Trump's comments that could be considered as inciting violence. Now he is saying in a post on Facebook, quote, "We are going to review our policies allowing discussion and threats of state use of force to see if there are any amendments that we should adopt." He says it details the first is around instances of excessive use of a police force, and also saying they're going to review policies around voter suppression, saying the second case that they're going to be reviewing is when a country has ongoing civil unrest or violent conflicts, certainly referring to the protests we've seen recently. So going on to say they're going to be reviewing policies about voter suppression and also how they will handle violating content, whether there's some third option other than just pulling it down or leaving it up. Back over to you, Melissa.
Would it be too early or unfair to say that he's backtracking?
Oh, this certainly seems to be backtracking. He had this town hall with Facebook employees earlier this week. There was a lot of outcry on Twitter as well as on LinkedIn from Facebook employees that were very frustrated with Zuckerberg's decision not to flag that post from the president. So this is him acknowledging the concerns of the public as well as from his employees, trying to find a third option, some new alternative in terms of how Facebook could handle this. So I think we could look towards potentially having some sort of labeling on posts from heads of state that have huge reach, that Zuckerberg has said he wants free speech. He wants people to say what political leaders are thinking and saying, but to put that within some context.
All right, Julia, thank you. Julia Boorstin. Guy Adami, earlier this week, we were saying that Facebook was, better positioned because of the stance it took. Can we say the opposite now?
Quickly, we also said Mark Zuckerberg was in a lose-lose situation in terms of how he's set up, and that the president, and it's not political, but there was a genius to this, because if somehow if the president gets flagged by Facebook, he's going to use that as a battle cry, and if he doesn't, he has the platform at his disposal. Win-win for the president, lose-lose for Mark Zuckerberg. In terms of the stock, though, until advertisers start to flee, which you have not seen, you have to stay with this name. And I think we've been somewhat steadfast in that belief. I am not a huge fan of Facebook, and at a certain point, it probably is getting expensive. But in terms of the advertisers and the users, nobody seems to be going anyplace anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan either. I will say that this is pretty extraordinary, because Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook looked like they were digging in during a difficult time of pressure after basically saying last year that they were not going to be political arbiters. And look, there are a lot of people that just believe that political battles should be fought in the open. This is a First Amendment dynamic. Let people decide, as politicians, either sink their own boats or shoot themselves in the foot or not. And I think this is the real debate in this country. I think there's plenty of debate around it. I think we're in 2.0 or 3.0, and I think we're going to 9.0 on social media and how we are dealing with freedom of speech. I think there's a lot that still needs to be worked out. We've had a lot of issues with manipulation, and ultimately, though, we're a country that does not believe in censorship of the media. We don't believe in this. We believe in freedom of speech. So back to Facebook, the irony was, of course, Facebook was re-rating higher, also because of Facebook Shops and this structured platform for letting small businesses have the ability to navigate closures and a new commercial opportunity. But it really was that it was taking this stance that looked more aligned with the administration. And obviously, that may not be something Facebook feels so good about today, but the stock was performing because of it.
Yeah, I have a slightly different take. You can roll out the First Amendment if you want. Let's go back and think about what Twitter did. They basically put a tag on misinformation, falsehoods, lies, if you will, about mail-in voting. And this goes back to that conversation that we were having with Mike Jaskin about corporate leaders kind of leading on the social front. Well, if you think about that misinformation about mail-in voting, who does that hurt? If that's voter suppression, it hurts groups, of minorities and such. And so, this is a huge, important issue at a very important time when we know that these platforms have been co-opted by bad actors to kind of influence our democratic process. So I think, kudos to Zuckerberg if he's going to reevaluate this and kind of fall into line, because his platform that has 3 billion monthly active users is being co-opted for voter suppression, which adversely affects a group of people in our country that are in the streets unhappy about a lot of injustice put on them. That's not what those platforms should be used for. And so this is really an important time, I think, for the direction of his company. And kudos again to Evan Spiegel and Jack Dorsey for getting out in front of this. And I suspect Zuckerberg will fall in line and will face the ire of the president. But you know what? That's how you stay on the right side of history.